So this model that we created, that we know what is happening, authentication, where exactly it's happening at the software level, application level, mobile level. Authentication means what? Exchanging of message basically. It is also knowledge token biometrics. It's also credential. It's also sometimes curated or third party credential, right? So this is a core of authentication, right? And once you know this core, then when you try to bring what are those regulatory standards, what are technical standards which are shaping all of this thing, right? Then you bring that together. So there are standards like this, like FIDO, then Web3, then Auth2, then EMV, then NIST, SP63P. Then we look at what are those technologies which can be leveraged to help you with authentication. So TPM, for example, trusted platform module in chip could help you to store that message securely and use that for the secure communication basically. Security element in mobile I talked about. Biometric is already people are using it. Most of the mobile application we are using biometrics to authenticate yourself there. NFC, machine learning, modern cryptography, API-based, all of those technologies basically. Not only technology, the data also important because authentication nowadays is behavioral authentication. It's a risk authentication. If you have risk signals available with you, if your data about risk, then you can process that contextual data, location data. You know that like many times because you are in this location, bank may throw you put up a OTP, put up a your pin or put up a grid card, three kind of digit, or sometimes they will send you SMS. So those kind of a location-based data that can be consumed. So all of those things would be one part is technology, other part is the data that can consume to take that authentication decision basically. Then comes some of the requirements that it will satisfy, right? Security, trust, frictionless user experience, all of these requirements have to satisfy it when you are talking about authentication, right? And then on top of that, you will go to how the authentication that exists now and where it will go from now. So this is another encapsulate that if you try to put things together, all the dimensions together, your ability to understand becomes better. Your ability to even develop something or not becomes better. My ability or DSL ability to understand entire authentication authorization improved because of this exercise ability that DSCI has. So this is one way. But for this you need to do a lot of understanding, a lot of studies. But ability here is to put it together, right? For better comprehension, better understanding, better derivation, better mapping as well, basically, right? So this is one kind of encapsulate. There's another one. This is we built something recently, which we published a report that management scheme of incident management. So this is another. There's a report which is on the ASA website. So how we put all those elements together. So this is one encapsulate. I can give another encapsulate. So this is very interesting encapsulate. We try to put together compliance landscape. Um, so what are the threat actors? Nation state, espionage, crime, insider activism, supply chain disruption, geopolitics. What that leads to? What are the catalysts of the regulation? And what are national development? What are sector development? What are international development? And then try to put together under the context of last year the regulation from certain picture, right? So putting it together in a manner that you can comprehend this better, right? So that's one of the important way of browsing this complexity. So there's another. We try to put this together how network and security is converging. They're just example, not to really, I don't want to get into the detail to explain this, but it's a network and security when it comes together. So there's an understanding framework that we develop for this. These are again yet another report of DSCI. We work with Polymer for this. So this is one way is to look at all those possible knowledge sources, try to bring them together, try to make sense out of it, create a structure which can make sense out of what you do, and use that for different purposes basically. And you can make this sense based on what you are looking at. This is one way. There is another instrument some of you must be knowing, or must be using as well, is doing mind maps, right? So a number of different mind map tools are available. So I use these and there are many more. So there was this yesterday we had on day 119 we have this GBPR. CBPR, cross-border privacy rules. So this is all the discussion that are important from the cross-border data flow. All of them are put together, and this becomes a one board itself. Where everything on the cross-border privacy rule and issues of privacy in the cross-border data flow, so all of them are put together. Now, our ability to understand the privacy in the context of data flow significantly improves with this kind of efforts. And this will be so useful. This will be useful even after 10 years if you do something like this. Even after 10 years, because this is something as reference you have created for yourself. So there are some methods like one method I talked about is creating encapsulate. Other method could be developing such kind of mind maps. So that could be used to, and then it also inspires you to probably build that basic habit of exploring more complex subjects. Once you start building such kind of habit of putting it together using mind map, then you start searching some new complex subject that you can try to get hold of, understand, read, and try to create your own. And sometimes this kind of encapsulate or sometimes mind map, it also build that ability of creating your own out of it basically. So if you start building like this, you start creating your own understanding, your own document, your own encapsulate, and the creation habit also improves quite significantly with that. So that's what complexity browsing, habit of complexity browsing teaches you and takes you basically.
Looking at it, see, one thought that strikes me is complexity is all pervasive in all factors of life. You do parenting, you do
Every life, yeah.
politics, everywhere.
Yeah.
Here, when we are trying to see it together, it seems to suggest that if you see it in a two-dimensional method,
Yeah.
it can be three-dimensional, four-dimensional, going in depth also. Possibly comprehension becomes easier.
So one is a dimension, right? That's very important. There are multiple dimension shares there. Other is seeing that together. Our tendency is we read one after another, and then we miss on seeing together and finding relation, connecting dots. So that's why the board like this, infinite. This is infinite board for. In this board, then this is one page. Seeing it on one page, for example, in table, you always have this A4, A3 or big sheets basically.
I think if I was seeing it as a 3D movie,
Yeah.
something might be backward, something might be
Forward as well, yeah. Some requires closer look, some requires bird's eye view, some requires macro attention, some requires to go down to the depth basically. So such kind of there is a so complexity browsing also builds another important skill is cognitive flexibility. Because once you start understanding the complexity and the dimensions and interest and views and interest involved in that, you start then develop that flexibility that in this situation, in this kind of interest group, I probably need to talk about this. I probably need to discuss about this. I need to use this proposition, this language to mobilize it. So it also brings that cognitive flexibility as well.
Along with this, it has enhanced the ability and capability of much more options and together.
So there are various different methods, but putting it all together is very important. Putting it one page, trying to putting it one page is very important. The encapsulate I talked about in earlier slide, but this is also one way to do that. The problem with this, you can't present it on this. This is for you, but usually I avoid having mind map in my presentation because that is not presentable, right? But encapsulate like this, as we discussed. So they are more presentable versions. So encapsulation, these are more presentable versions. So there are different encapsulation. Our team generates so many of them in a year. Every report of DSA you find one encapsulate. Most of the report that we develop have been out of one encapsulated itself. So there is a report that this is a report on a incident response that we published last year. This was a report on a SASE, which is a network and security convergence. And this is one encapsulate which is used for writing almost 70-80 pages on top of it. That's what it helps basically. So again, yeah, that's very interesting when you talk about it. It's not only what you do, right? It's also if you start understanding what is happening in a nuclear science, for that matter, what is happening in biology, what is happening in other fields. So that also helps quite. So once you start building, you start understanding complexity and start getting interest in many other areas. Right? Uh, yeah. So relating means one interesting part is key. Think about that subject. For example, if you have to think about security, remove the word security out of this. Apply all other thinking, and then you will find it so easy to understand. So, if you are doing good, is actually yesterday I was supposed to talk about humanities and security, humanities subjects and security. How history, uh, learning history will help you understand security. How learning psychology help you manage security challenges better, or how psychology can help you to really manage some of the security challenges better, or how economics will help you in many aspects of you managing security. So next, somewhere in next first meet in second Mumbai, we'll do humanities and cybersecurity. How do you leverage those humanities subjects understanding to solve the problems of security? So this is what I wanted to cover in this meeting. I think leaving you with this. We started with this, and this is why we need to think about conversative browsing. And with this, we conclude. Hope it was useful. So let's now move to the sessions. Thank you for joining today. Try to find some new subject every time to discuss. Uh, Maybe next time we will talk about new subject.
AISS law firm and provide consultancy to allied solutions. I am a Cyber Shiksha alumni. Cyber Shiksha is a joint skilling initiative for young women by DSCI and Microsoft. I am delighted to welcome you all for today's session. We'll begin with the session shortly, and it is my pleasure to invite fellow panelists to the dais. Please welcome Satyanandan Atyam. He's a Chief Risk Officer from Tata AIG General Life Insurance. Morning, sir. Commander Praveen Kumar. He's a Group CISO from Z. Good morning. Mr. Umesh Kumar. He's Head Cybersecurity from Godfrey Phillips India Limited.
Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning. Mr. Bhavesh Kumar. He's CISO and DPO Cybersecurity and IT Compliance from SK Finance. Very warm welcome. Good morning. And Mr. Amit Modi from Kindrel. He's Chief Cybersecurity Advisor. I would also like to invite today's moderator, Mr. Jaya. I'm thankful to DSCI and Microsoft for giving me the opportunity to learn, and I'm looking forward for today's discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Jaya.
So, hi everyone.
Mike.
So there is a small confusion. The moderator of the session is Sir Umesh Kumar. Okay. So I'll just give a small introduction about all the eminent speakers. So the Umesh Kumar, the head cybersecurity Godfrey Phillips India Limited. So he is an engineering graduate and skilled professional having 3 decades of rich and diversified experience in risk management, security tools, system implementation, governance and compliance. He has managed information security teams in capacity of CISO, tower head security in one of the national critical infrastructure with 90 plus cyber security professionals. Mr. Satyanandan Atyam, CRO, Tata AIG General Life Insurance. He has 20 years of global experience across various industry domains, insurance, capital markets, automotive, and in multiple geographies like Europe, Middle East, and in Asia Pacific in enterprise risk management, financial risk, data privacy, and information security. He has received the Golden Peacock Award for Risk Management in Jan 2020. The award was instituted by Institute of Directors. Commander Praveen Kumar, so Group CISO Z. So he is a naval veteran, having served the Indian Navy for over 2 decades. Presently, he is the Group CISO for Z Entertainment, one of the largest media companies of the country. Mr. Bhavesh Kumar, CISO and DPO, Cybersecurity and IT Compliance, SK Finance. So he is a postgraduate in Computer Science and postgraduate in Business Administration from IMT Ghaziabad. He is having 2 decades of experience in information and cybersecurity, IT audit, governance and compliance. And Mr. Amit Modi, Chief Cybersecurity Advisor, Kindrel. So he is an industry veteran with over 22 plus years of experience, spanning the industries like banking, captive accounts, MNCs, enterprise stocking exchanges, etc. He has worked on IT security, OT security, cyber security educational programs. He is a specialist in developing and implementing various strategies like SOC, information security, and incident management strategy, cyber security roadmap aligning to industry standards. So his wide exposure in designing infrastructure security in the services industry, catering to the customer's requirement, brings to the floor strong leadership, architecture, and consulting skill to his customers. With this short introduction, I would request moderator of the session to please handle the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Good morning to all of you. Good morning to my fellow panelists. DSI has done a wonderful job in choosing a subject which talks about maturity of a data centric security program, and all of you must agree with me that a job of CISO, head of security, DPO is essentially, if we define in a very simple term, the triad which we usually say CIA. the only role of all these gentlemen is protecting the confidentiality, maintaining the integrity, and making sure the service is available to the people who are entitled for. And this subject is talking about the core area, which is the data, its maturity. It starts with foundational approach, reactive and proactive, but taking everything to a maturity with process, operations, and governance in focus. So, any organization we talk about, when they start their journey, it is not reached to the maturity in the day one. It starts with basic foundational steps. For example, when we start, what we focus, let's say that when the evolution of computer was happening, journey was happening, the first thing control came was the antivirus. So it start with your basic device which is used to connect with internet. So we start with antivirus, then comes your firewalls. So what we are doing, we are approaching step by step end user computing to network, and then slowly we are moving towards the core data which is residing in our production setups. So from foundational to reaching to maturity is a stepwise processes. Then you engage business, you become a business enabler, and when we take a decision in an organization using data centric approach, engaging multiple stakeholders, and then you start your journey. In between you bring start with reactive approach of detecting handling an incidents, but here the blend comes, even if it is reactive, but it has to be agile. The moment you move from reactive to proactive, proactive means that thinking something, you bring threat intel, you start discovering your threat actor, then comes various models. So everything is supported by, be it ISO 27001. Recently we got Data Privacy Act. Then we have a GDPR. There are many models available for measuring the maturity, like CMMI. Then there is something called BSIM. Now bringing everything into this context, and now today we are supported by fantastic colleagues, my friends, and they are representing a totally diversified domain they belong to. So we have a people coming from service provider industry, Kindle. So they are SI and they deliver services. So I'm having first time on a panel when I have a colleague representing an organization which is giving solution to the customer. Then I have Mr. Bhavesh. Bhavesh is veteran and he represent a domain financial. So we get aspect from totally different domain experts with security, and focus is again the maturity of data centric program. Then we have Commander Praveen. He is naval. So we get two views from him. From naval, the way they do it, he may be having some restriction on sharing some information, but of course we understand. But at the same time, we'll get how media industry or entertainment industry is doing this job. Then we have Satyanandan, and he represent insurance industry. So it is a totally, it is fantastic panel giving views from a different domain side. So the first question I will put up, which talks about the relevance of this program itself. So the question goes to Mr. Satyanandan. So just share your experience that how the relevancy of this program, which is maturity of data centric approach, from CISO's perspective in the insurance, and then we will take from the product which he will share. Commander Praveen will share.
Thanks. I think thanks for the wonderful introduction and contextualization of this subject. I think this data-centric maturity program is quite relevant with the way we are, putting the data at the center. End of the day, all investments, all programs which run in an organization are to benefit the business, and they have to accelerate the business. So end of the day, what is all important is that the CISOs and the programs they come with are not causing hindrance to the business. Now, the way this data-centric programs comes into place, I think it is more business aligned. The business is more focused on the data, and data is the new oil. And when you have a security program which is centering around the maturity of the data itself, I think your entire initiative of a CISO, your entire initiative, a security initiative, I think it becomes more aligned to the business, and which is always a welcome. Now, if you really get into the context of the way our moderator has explained, the from an insurance context itself, the the data which insurers hold, they hold a treasure trove of data. When you have multiple insurance propositions to the consumer, and for delivering those multiple consumer propositions to the consumer, you need to take the data of the consumer. And when that data is with the institution, and there is an increased responsibility to securing and protecting the data itself. So you take governance in perspective, you take regulations in perspective, the DPDP, the GDPR, or all again focusing on the data aspect of the business itself. So the way the program talks about the maturity, the reactive approach, when they talk about the threat intel perspective, so you have security initiatives already in line, but you are aligning to that the maturity, because you also need to know that where in the security process, how are you maturing as an organization, and therefore your interventions, whether you are moving from a basic to a mature or to a reactive approach, I think this helps. And when you are having a very mature DPDP program that is coming to go and implement, I think you are taking it to the next level. So these are some initial thoughts. I think I will keep my other thoughts at this point of time. Let the other panel speak up, and then we can add up more on this subject.
So thank you very much. You touched data privacy also, but we will come back on this. Merging with the insurance organization have access to the medical information also, which essentially make them in future the significant data fiduciary the moment we get a notification which is due from Government of India. So I move the same question to Commander Praveen to give us a view from the product side of it. Over to you.
So, Meshji, thank you for the initial contextual setting. Before I actually answer it from a product point of view, I thought I'll take a step backward and talk about what is this talk about data centric security program all about? Is it some new paradigm shift? Is it that we are trying to package what we have been doing all the time into a new jargon? You know, we security professionals are known for creating jargons and creating acronyms, right? So I'll try to keep it simple. Let me take a step backwards and say traditionally how the security was being done. Traditionally the security was, as Umeshji rightly brought out, was centered around networks and endpoints. Traditional security, he rightly brought out, the veteran sitting out here would know that we started our careers just talking about firewalls and maybe antiviruses. Then came the patch management, which was again a big thing. But these things were not enough. So what were the drivers for moving away from the traditional security, the way security was being done traditionally, vis-a-vis what this data-centric security program is? The drivers largely were, I think, four. First and the foremost, the traditional security controls were not adequate. That was what people felt. They felt that, you know, traditionally what's happening, the networks are being breached every day. So are we really secure? Secondly, data is the new oil. I'm sure all of us have heard of it and we agree to it, right? Thirdly, the new data regulations which are coming up, which are going to be stringent. They are stringent around the world, and very soon the same is going to happen in India. The big names like Google and Microsoft also haven't been spared from the data security regulations, and these largely were the drivers for the researchers stroke academia to think about something new, something different from the way we are doing security today. Compounding the problem was in the recent decade we've seen businesses breaching the organizational boundaries. Before, the business was or the enterprise was limited to a fort which was created by the security within the organization. The applications was hosted inside. The employees used to come to the office, access their personal computers, PCs, which were the sources of connecting to their applications, and the business was largely done within the boundaries. What has happened today is all these boundaries have got breached. It is not only employees, we need to give access to our data to many third parties, service providers, and so on and so forth. So these are the drivers for which people started thinking as to what is the next way of doing security, or what is a better way of doing security. Once the thought came in, people felt that because data is the new oil and that is the most important crown jewel of an organization, why not build our security controls around data? What it essentially means is that if we have policies or tools or controls which can give super granular access to the data. I will expand on that, what I mean by why did I specifically use the word super, because granular access, yes, we still give, but if you want to further fine tune it, say, okay, a piece of data, I'll give you a policy, I'll try and create a policy here. If you are able to define that a particular data can be accessed by somebody of a particular role in the organization, say a director who should be present in, say, Bombay, should be within the boundaries of the organization, should be only able to access a small part of that data, and should be able to do only particular functions on that data. If you are able to do this, this is exactly what a data centric security program means. I'm sure veterans sitting out here may think that, yeah, this is possible today also, why not? Yes, it is possible. But it is possible using a diverse set of controls. For example, we may have to use a combination of, say, network security, combination of access control, granular access control, along with maybe a ZTNA control to achieve this function. Say tomorrow, if OEM stroke service providers are able to give us that golden tool, which will be able to create these access policies onto data through a single dashboard, that is what largely a data centric security program means. Coming to the relevance of this to my industry or my domain, I think it is relevant to all domains. There's no two ways about it. But do we have the bandwidth to, stop doing what we are doing and start doing something new? I would say no. Reason being, this should be considered as a next level of security, not a security control in totality. What we are doing has to be done, yes. For certain sectors which are very critical, I think it's very much important that they start treading this path. For certain sectors which are not, what I mean by critical sectors is, critical infrastructure, defense, banking, these are the sectors which probably should start treading that path straight away. For the rest, I think there is some time to go, because most of the legacy organizations today, data discovery itself is a big challenge. It's easier said that we should be data centric, but most of the organizations are still trying to find where their data lies, where all their data lies. The data discovery controls are itself not very mature. The next step after you are able to discover your data, I think, is to go towards the data centric security program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Praveen, for giving an inside scoop. And I think you have touched the nerve of this or soul of this, the data discovery. Now, if I relate this with NIST framework, it even starts with identify, and which is the biggest challenge, because, and my experience also says that data is discovered continuously, but only thing is somewhere it has to get stopped, and we have to find ways where we identify more new data when it is getting created, and important is then classify it, because again any security initiative has to be linked with whether I need to secure it or it is bound to be public, which is available for public, and I don't worry much about and don't spend money on it, or I spend money in a very controlled way. Thank you very much for giving this perspective from product as well as entertainment industry where you belongs to. Now moving to requesting Bhavesh to give a light of the same question but from the finance point of view. Yeah, Bhavesh.
Yeah, thank you, Umesh, and good morning, all of you. So, as Commander Praveen just explained that how we evolve from traditional security now to data-centric approach. So let's summarize data-centric security. So this approach is, simply to identify or discover the data, to manage their data, see their movement, protection of data, and then finally review of data. And this approach is not only in security, it has given, in a business line also to understand their, strategies or define their strategies as per source of data. Now question comes especially in a non-retail banking sectors, like how to and why this data centric security approach is needed. So I will give you a few example, a real life example, what I have seen in last my tenure in 10 years in a different organization in a leadership role. So suppose in a non-banking or even banking for non-retail segment, you have multiple line of businesses. One line of business cater the rural area where you provide a commercial vehicle loan, tractor loan, and another line of business you have urban segment where you provide a digital personal loan which can deliver loan in a 30 minutes or 1 hour. So data identification of data or source of data is different in a one organization in a different way. So tractor loan data generation happens in a different way, very traditional way. Customer is not tech savvy. They will share you hard copy. You have to convert data in a digital form. Then it will upload it in a one application. It will be weighted by different layer. And finally it will be stored. So journey of data, identification of data in a one line of business will be different. In a digital personal loan, user is tech savvy. He simply downloaded your app and uploaded all their data in your environment. And weighting of data and in a digital platform is a different way. So organization not only in security, in even they're in a business strategy, they identify like data centric approach is very important for a business point of view. Similar kind of approach, that's why security people need to implement in their organization to secure their data or information, because one control is not fit for both of the environment. You have to think about business perspective, like when data is coming from a rural background, where is it stored first? Maybe in sales executive mobile phone or in their laptop. At multiple places, it might be scanned sometime in a cyber cafe also, because your office is not there. Your office is 50 kilometer or 60 kilometer away from that place. So you have taken that data, you scanned, you transfer in your environment, but risk related to information cannot be outsourced. So even the moment data generates for you, responsibility lies with you to protect. That's why data centric approach was adopted in the organization. Now I am coming on how to protect this in our environment, especially in a BFSI segment. So I think last year in 2021 there was one data or research published, like 80% information or data is either being saved on cloud in any form, maybe in a S3 bucket on AWS or any private cloud or public cloud, or organization are planning to move their data on cloud. But in our segment, 95% organizations are still hybrid. They have legacy data in their data center. We have 10 TB, 15 TB data in their file server, but still data is moving on cloud. So here, hybrid approach, data centric approach in a implementing of control is equally important, You have to think on a even a traditional way, because your data is still being stored in a traditional way, and you have adopted your new cutting edge technology cloud. So you have to think about all aspect to protect your information till the traditional way and current approach. So data centric approach is need of the hour. Every organization must think where their data are and how to protect that particular data. And as far as uh, regulations are concerned, we will maybe we will come on the later part of this discussion on how regulation now moving and driving this data centric approach for security also.
Thank you, Bhavesh. You have given some important point which is significant and which makes a differentiator in your kind of industries. Even though you have a legacy data where you are struggling or you are having some roadmap to move to cloud, but the creating your organization as a differentiator is that how fast you are able to disperse the loan in rural area. You said it half an hour or something. What that mean is that your business has to thrive on the agility part, but we cannot forget the security element, because the data has to be secure. Because if you disperse the loan amount making some wrong decision, then this will move into your NPA. Correct. Which essentially is a loss to your kind of organization and you lose edge. So that means the dual challenge is making sure that you are adopting technology, moving from data center data centered stored data to moving to cloud, so that you have more agility, but at the same time bringing security control moving as fast as your business is moving. That become a challenge. Now moving to, thank you very much for giving this perspective. Now moving to Mr. Amit. So Amit, you are answering at the last, so that you get one more question bonus from my side. So you will cover not only the context perspective of relevance of this subject, but at the same time you representing the customer service organization, you should give us additionally information that how a customer will get a benefit from your kind of organization by taking the approach of maturity of data centric program. So two question for you.
Great, thanks. Thanks everybody for attending this, and thanks Umeshji for putting this across. I have heard all of you guys, and it is very, very overwhelming in terms of that how data centric approach is moving towards and taking a driving seat into the security side of it. Now, if you look at it, I think data centric approach is not really new. If you look at it, the business has already started taking this as a business analytics, collecting the data to the level, and then making sure that the business decisions are being taken basis on the data which is available. And you look at Make My Trip, you look at all the e-commerce websites, you see the flight which is from Mumbai to Delhi is 2,000 rupees, for example, or 5,000 rupees. The other website you go, you will get exactly 5,000 rupees. How it is possible? Right? So all of these business data are being gathering at the larger level, and then the data centric calls are being taken from the business point of view. Now, as everybody mentioned, right, the way the time has come now for us to look at the cyber security also move in the same direction altogether, right? Because the way business takes the agility, the business takes that particular approach, the cyber security also equally has to get at par with that particular approach. Now, if you look at it from the service provider perspective, what we look at this point is that when we go to any of the organization, to any of our customers, right, the biggest challenge what customer owns is that they have data collection points at multiple areas for the multiple purpose. That is one way to look at it. It means, what do you mean by that is that you have not lesser than 5 different copies of the same data which you are gathering at the different stage. So one is that organization is not governing the data what it has to be, first of all. The second thing is, how can you now make sure that when you are bringing these governance to the together, it is equally important that we touch upon three major aspects of the organization when it comes to security. One is the foundational security. Now, foundational security is something which is, we all have it by default in the organization, likes of firewall, likes of antivirus, likes of EDR, likes of WAF, and so on and so forth, right? Now, how can we make sure that the data which we are collecting is something which is really helping us to take the cautious call and defining the relevant policies around it, so that our protection strategy is much more informed. The on top of it, slowly and gradually, when we build this kind of model, what happens is that we are moving towards proactive approach to the to the to the threat which is we are able to see, right? Because now the policies which we have defined on the different foundational security are based on the facts, basis on the data what we are collecting, and accordingly we are taking the rules, accordingly we are optimizing these rules or the tools and the controls, and then those tools are working at the optimal level. So we, every organization, when we go as a service provider, they say that how can we get a more ROI from the tool what we have. What can you expect from firewall, of the basics of the firewall which is running from last so many years? The only way is move towards this kind of data, where we have, most of the time we have seen that from last 1 year or 3 years, no policy has been updated ever. So if there is 1,000 rules which are there on the firewall, I think 80% of the time, 80% of the time, we are not at all even looking at it to reduce that from 1,000 to even 800. So point is that why can't we take the data centric approach and look at it, that how many hits are coming to those policies, how many times it is coming in, and can we merge those, and can we really consolidate many of them, and so that my firewall can work at maximum optimal level, right? That is one way to look at it. Another way is that because now we are moving towards more and more data centric decision making on the security side, we are able to add more intelligence, more security intelligence and analytics on top of it, which helps us to get into a predictive way. So it means that if there is an attack which is going to happen, or if there is a mishap which is going to happen, we at least have 3 hours prior notice, or at least 6 hours of prior notice, which helps CISO organization or any organization to prepare for that mishap. Because we all say that there is no 100% security altogether, right? Even if it is 0.01%, but that is going to impact organization in much bigger way. So the point is that this is what is our approach when we go to the any of the organization, and when we start talking on. Now, what is the benefit to service provider? This is all we are talking about, the customer organization, but what benefit they get. If you look at it as a service provider like us, it is very very important that when we optimize and work on the data centric policy decision making, what helps us is to perform much better and meet our SLA to the standard level and or the optimal level, which helps us to perform much better way and much intelligent way, rather than working like, there is a difference between hard working and intelligent working, right? So this is moving us to the hard working, to the intelligence working, and that's what is our many times we are paying penalties, many times we are paying not meeting the SLA and all. This helps us to indirectly get into that area, right? The second question which I would probably address from the benefits perspective is, as I was mentioning, right, on a larger scale, I think one is that is we can achieve more and more performance and by understanding the gap within the system itself. So the point is that if at all there is a data which directing us that this is the way traffic pattern is. For example, one of the bank, when we were working, we suddenly started understanding that the first July is we are getting huge amount of traffic and the entire network is choked, and 2nd July everything is normal by default. If it is DDoS, then why it is not impacting on 2nd of July or 3rd of July or 4th of July? So the point is that it requires really a data centric approach. Such kind of incidents really require data centric approach, and when we really analyze these kind of things, we understand that why it is happening, and then we fine tune our security controls for the protection, detection, and identification, and then response and recover perspective from the niche point of view, to align to that data, which helps us to reduce the MTTR, which helps us to perform better, as I said, and then meet the SLA. So the point is that many organizations say that when you breach the SLA, we will penalize you. But organization is not really giving us the contract to penalize us. The organization objective is always to meet the SLA to the optimum layer, so that they can get the maximum out of the security strategy what they have. Then if you look at it now, because we have all the data which is arrived and all the security controls which are being optimized from the foundational layer to the predictive layer to the reactive layer and all of these, it is equally important that we align the governance structure to it, which is something which is, as I said, that if we are collecting the data, multiple data, same kind of data for 7 times, one is impacting that organization is the cost. The second thing is, it is not giving you the holistic view of what that organization look at it. Like for example, if there is an attack, you will never get the complete picture, because your data sets are different and you are running the query with the person who is really working on that particular system. So the point is that these are the benefits which organization gets, and we as a service provider can deliver much better service, much intelligent service, rather than just saying that okay, we are managing your firewall, we are managing your infrastructure, and that's the only objective. So the point is that is this is what my submission is, that when we go to any of our customers, these are the 2-3 things which we keep it back of our mind, and then we work towards the customer.
Thank you, Amit. You have given a different perspective that how when an organization approaches you for signing some contract for a service delivery, what goes at your organization, that view you have presented. In my the way I put it, if you have this program taken to a maturity level, it is going to benefit customer. The contrast is, there is an organization which have a significant PII data with medical information. For example, the organization Satya belonging to, the customer of organization vis-a-vis a manufacturing organization, right? So they will get a different treatment, but at the same time they will get a cost advantage also, the way you are maturing your program. So thank you very much. Now looking at,
If I can just add on
yeah,
to what Amit just said, he's given us an interesting perspective on the whole topic of data centric security program. In the first half of the discussions, we said that centric security program is that program which keeps data at the center and tries to build controls around it. What he's brought out is a very interesting part that yes, that is obviously needs to be done. But to start with, why don't we use the data which the huge amount of telemetry which we are already producing through various security controls and use it intelligently? And I think that's what the SIEMs of yesterday tried to do, and that's what the new concept of consolidation, the OEMs who are bringing in the concept of consolidations are trying to do. But yes, that's a very interesting thing, and if we are able to achieve that, I think nothing like it.
sure, thank you for adding up, complementing the thoughts. We have few minutes left, and I put a quick question open to the panel. See, the subject is maturity of data centric program, but it has some element of covering different dimension, which is foundational, reactive, proactive capabilities. So let's imagine there is a startup organization and you have been given a charge of that organization, that you take this organization starting from foundational steps to a level of highest maturity. How would you take those actions or steps covering each area given in the subject? Give example, please.
So let me start. In any organization, whether it's a startup or in a VFSI or in a manufacturing, now data-centric approach is a need of our. Fine. Not only because of business, because of regulation too. And if you will take example of any startup, these days most of the startups do their business with a messaging of data on with their analytics platform, as Mr. Amit just explained. Like when you start buying tickets for Delhi to Mumbai, you can find 5,000 rupees ticket across all platforms. So because of data analytics. So if you are in a startup environment or in a banking environment or insurance environment, data analytics and that kind of approach related to in a strategy gives you edge in the market. So if you will take example, like if any organization is doing business with a with a certain segment, maybe in a semi-urban or urban area, you have to be complete focused in your data analytics, like how to analyze. So you should be in a competitive in the market, so you can do business in a better way and you can enhance your business. And security is equally important as of now, because these startups generating huge data, and their business model is sometimes quite innovative, and that gets hit on their security approach. Third angle is regulation. Though in DPDP there is some leverage for this new startup, some rebate is given there, but still security of your data or your customers' data is your requirement, and especially in a BFSI, though we have a certain element of privacy was in IT Act also. So most of the banking or non-banking organizations are ready with their regulations in privacy and security of personal data. But now we have a DPDP law, so data centric approach is again will be crucial for compliance and security of personal data, because now if your organization having data centric approach, that means you know your data, you have identified your personal data, and then securing and complying will be quite easy.
Okay, thank you. So we can take two questions from audience on this topic. And ma'am.
We all are talking about data centric approach, but these are all the problems. What is the solution to it? I mean, see, data, when you said single source from where the data is coming, you said it has to be monitored, but then is there a solution to it? Say, like you're encrypting the data and then taking it, because categorization comes later on. First is your data. So at first point, is there a solution?
So, as I said in my opening remarks, there is no silver bullet to protect your data. Data centric approach came to identify, monitor, and to secure your data. But to how to secure, you have to create a risk framework as per their data centric approach. Like as I explained, like how your data is being generated from the very first point to data where being stored, you have to be very particular risk based approach to protect your data. I'm not going to say any name related to technology, but entire technology identification and implementation of control should be data centric nowadays, because you, as I said, like you have some line of business where data is coming from a very rural or semi-rural background, where the other line of business where data is coming from quite tech savvy people, and controls implementation will be different in both aspects. So you should be quite open, and there should be a fine balance for traditional approach as well as new cutting edge technology. You have to think about everything, because some at some point or some section of your business, maybe it's not apt to implement everything, because you are in a rural area now, because the rural area is very revenue generating, and most of the big banks are tapping those particular area for a revenue generation, because in a urban or semi urban area, competition is it's a very competition is like you have so many players, but in rural area, if you tap that particular market, you have an edge. So in all aspect, in a business aspect, in a security aspect, you have to think that way.
I'd just like to add on top of it, as you rightly mentioned, right? The first of all, the ask is to start first. That is more important. The second thing is something which is you, if you look at it, any organization today, which is fair, I'm not still talking very startup companies, but any company which is we consider in SMB, enterprise and more, I think more or less they have more than 10 security solutions deployed in their organization. The first thing and foremost what they should start across is that when they start evaluating any new technology to be adopted, the first criteria of the selection should be that can it get integrated to each other. Let's first take that step, because that is something which is very important. Now over the period of time, maybe every organization, every technology what you have may not be integrating to each other and data reutilization is not happening, but at least start. Even if it is out of 10, 2 are talking to each other, 3 are leveraging each other, we are at least starting that particular journey, and then we can look at it that how can we holistically start reutilizing those data. The second approach which most of the organization also take is getting into the data warehouse, data lake kind of thing, but that is for the larger enterprise, because you can't expect SMB people to invest into the data lake and data warehouse, which is much more expensive for them, right? So point is that let's start with it. As we I think 5 years back when we were started talking about AppSec, we were not at all talking about CI/CD security being pushed into CI/CD and DevSecOps. We were never even talking. Now today we are slowly and gradually adding the SEC into DevOps, right? And that this is exactly how we need to start. And we have to make sure that all the tools which we are adopting, at least they are some or the other way talking to each other, and then we are building the processes around it. This is what my take would be.
All right. Thank you very much for to all of you joining this session. And on the behalf of all panelists, I thank DSCI for they are. It has become a ritual for all of us to come meet, choose the topic, and discuss the problem in the industry, probable solutions, and nice topic, need of the hour, because agility business this season based on data are driving us to take the maturity step by step to the next level, and it is again evolving journey. Thank you very much.
Thanks everybody for joining.
So I thank all the eminent speakers for the wonderful session. Now I request Cyber Shiksha alumni Nidhi ma'am to please hand over the token of appreciation to all the speakers.
So there is a white paper from Kindle where Amit represent. It is available at the exit gate. I request each one of you to collect this white paper, nicely written. It will give some perspective. Looks like this. Please collect this copy. Ma'am, it will have some answer to your query.